Sasuke Uchiha is missing, Tsunade said grimly. Naruto's eyes hardened. Any leads? Tsunade shook her head. No one saw him leave, but Kabuto also escaped last night. The guard said there were 4 others, each with distinct features. They believe they saw the Sound Village symbol on their clothes. We can safely assume they also abducted Sasuke. Naruto listened as he expanded his senses, attempting to locate the Hiraishin marker he placed on Sasuke. He was able to sense it, although it was highly distorted. But he found himself unable to teleport to the marker. Naruto, I want you to lead a team to save Sasuke. You've fought Orochimaru more than anyone, so I trust you will be able to deal with his henchmen. Not only did they capture a member of the Leaf, but they are also taking the last of the Uchiha. Naruto nodded. Who is available? I want the best you have. Tsunade looked through her papers. The best you can have is your peers. Everyone else, even Kakashi, are out on missions, and I cannot spare anyone else and leave the village vulnerable. Naruto sighed heavily. Fate is not on my side today. Fine, I'll round up the best of them. When do you want us to leave? Within the hour. Understood. Naruto flashed out of the Hokage's office, appearing beside Hinata, who was reading on the couch in their apartment. Sasuke's been captured. I'm leading a team. You coming? He asked, seeing Hinata's surprised look. She nodded, moving to ready her equipment. Naruto produced a group of shadow clones, instructing them to find the people he wanted on the mission. They nodded and disappeared in a yellow flash. Naruto and Hinata prepared all the necessary equipment they would need. Naruto also made sure to prepare the required components for the seal removal jutsu, in case Sasuke had been given a new curse mark. Once they were ready, Naruto teleported them to the village gate. Moments later, his clones appeared with the people he had chosen for this mission. Shikamaru walked up to Naruto. His normal lazy expression was replaced with cold eyes, his mind already tossing and turning multiple strategies and plans over and over. Naruto was counting on him to be the brains, as he was still a better strategist than himself. Neji stood silently, making sure not to make eye contact, a small amount of unease in his gaze. Lee was acting as ecstatic as ever, his body raring to go. Kiba and Sakura were dead serious, both intent on bringing their friend and comrade back. Each of them was strong, capable of handling themselves in a fight. Naruto trusted they would perform their duties well. My clone said this before, but I will explain our mission one last time. We are to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha, and deal with any sound shinobi we come across. Our side mission is to capture Kabuto Yakushi, a follower of Orochimaru who disguised himself as a leaf shinobi during the Chunin exams. But Sasuke takes priority. His abductors are fleeing in the direction of the final valley. They have half a day's journey ahead of us, so we're moving double time. Hinata handed each of them a paper tag and instructed them to wrap it around their legs. They all felt a rush of energy in their legs, as if they weighed nothing. Those are special one-use seals created to temporarily increase a person's speed. Since none of you besides Lee can keep up with us at top speed, this should even us out, Hinata stated. Kiba spoke. Naruto, I hate to ask this, but is it possible Sasuke left of his own volition? We all know he has been acting different recently. Naruto paused, looking at the members of Team 7. Kiba was doing an excellent job at hiding his worries, not wanting his emotions to interfere with the mission. Sakura was having trouble holding it in. Naruto could tell she was worried sick. Her feelings towards Sasuke had grown from a simple crush during the academy to genuine love. If he did leave of his own accord, Sakura would be devastated. Naruto put a hand on the shoulders of the two. He kept a blank expression, but his voice carried hope. I spoke with Sasuke yesterday before he was taken. He He seemed intent on staying in the village. There is little doubt in my mind that he left willingly. His words calmed down the two. They nodded, saying they were ready to depart. Naruto nodded and without a word, motioned for his team to follow. They vanished from view at top speed, quickly leaving the leaf behind. They traveled via treetop, jumping from branch to branch, some of them tripping over themselves, adjusting to their new speed. Naruto took the front along with Neji. Shikamaru and Lee took the middle. Sakura and Kiba took the left and right sides. Hinata took up the rear. The Hyuga had their Byakugan active, their eyes watching for traps. The next few hours were spent in silence. The only sound breaking it was the rustling of leaves and the sound of shinobi sandals meeting wood. "I see something," Neji said, making them all jump to attention. "I see the 5 sound ninja. They have a large barrel with seals covering it. A strange chakra is leaking from it. I am not certain, but I believe Sasuke is inside." Hinata watched with her own Byakugan, frowning at the sight of the purple chakra emanating from Sasuke. "Naruto, it's the same chakra he was releasing when he got the curse mark." Naruto frowned. "I can sense it too. I honestly doubt my seal removal jutsu will be able to remove it this time. It's much stronger." "The large one is staying behind. The others are continuing to run," Neji said. Naruto motioned for them to stop. They all jumped into the clearing where Jirobo stood. Jirobo wasted no time and used his technique. "Earth-style barrier. Earth Dome Prison." A large dome erupted, trapping the group inside. Jirobo grinned. "Over time, this technique will take all your chakra. You can do nothing but wait to die." "Sorry, but we don't have that kind of time." Jirobo registered the pain a few seconds later. He looked down to see a sword protruding from his stomach, drenched in blood. The blade was swiftly withdrawn, swinging to slice Jirobo's head clean off. "And neither do you," Naruto said, placing his sword back in its scabbard. The dome exploded from an attack by Lee, freeing the group. They all joined Naruto as he analyzed the fresh corpse. A few of them held their breath, trying not to get sick. "He has a curse mark too, although it is a different pattern from Sasuke's. It's safe to assume the other 3 have one too. Are you guys sure you can deal with them if they enter their curse mark state?" he asked the Genin. "Don't worry about us, Naruto," Shikamaru said. "Once they realize we are still chasing them, Kabuto will likely continue on and leave the 3 behind. We will deal with them. You go on ahead of us." Naruto paused, looking at his comrades, knowing that, even together, they were not an even match for 3 curse mark users, as far as he knew. He had to hope they kept their curse marks dormant, seeing the group as too weak to use the power. He had to trust Shikamaru's judgment. He nodded, sealing Jirobo away to be brought back for an autopsy. They pressed on, catching up to the group little by little. Like Shikamaru predicted, the remaining 3 sound members stayed behind. Kabuto continuing with the barrel with Sasuke inside. "I can see another joining Kabuto. Probably another one of Orochimaru's guys," Hinata announced. "He has a Kekkei Genkai I am not familiar with." "No doubt about it, he's strong." Naruto nodded. "Lee, you will join me and Hinata. The rest of you are in charge of these 3. Pull out all the stops, and don't die." Neji, Shikamaru, Sakura, and Kiba nodded. The other 3 vanished due to sheer speed. They turned to look at their opponents. Kidomaru, Tayuya, and Sakon, with his second head and brother, Ukon. "Sakura, you lay down cover fire. I will try to prevent their movements while the rest of you take them out." Kiba and Nakamaru dashed forward, aiming for Tayuya. She brought out her flute, and was about to begin playing when she was bombarded by jets of water. Kiba slammed into her, knocking her to the ground. Sakon jumped at Akamaru, grabbing him by his tail. Kiba growled in anger and tossed his partner a small pill. The dog bit the pill out of midair, slashing Sakon's wrists, making him drop the dog. Akamaru's fur grew a dull, dark red, while Kiba ate a pill of his own. He felt energy rush through him. He joined Akamaru and brought his hands together in the transformation jutsu hand sign. Inozuka style, man-beast transformation combo. Two-headed wolf. The Inozuka and his dog disappeared and were replaced with a large two-headed wolf, roughly twice Kiba's size. The Kiba/Akamaru hybrid roared, charging directly towards Toyuya again. She must be a genjutsu user, Shikamaru muttered. Otherwise, she would be defending herself better. The two-headed wolf jumped back, seeing both Sakon and Toyuya gaining strange black markings along their body. Their first level of the curse mark was activated, making them many times stronger than before. The wolf snarled, readying its next attack. Wolf fang over fang. The beast turned into a massive drill that easily slammed into Toyuya, making her scream in agony. It turned to attack Sakon, who rushed to activate his second curse mark stage. Summoning Jutsu. Rashomon! A giant gate with a demonic face rose from the ground. Sakon smirked. This was Orochimaru's strongest defense. There was no way a kid, no matter how strong they were, could break it. The spinning wolf charged into the gate. With a loud crash, he slammed into it. After a few moments, Sakon was surprised to see the gate begin to dent. He frowned, watching the wolf channel more and more speed into the technique. Slowly, the gate gave in more and more, until a crack appeared. Sakon gasped, but let out a relieved sigh when Akamaru and Kiba transformed into their original forms. He released the Rashomon gate and charged at the tired Leaf members, ready to kill them. He dashed at blinding speed, mere inches away from Kiba. The Inozuka smirked, seeing the elongated shadow grab hold of Sakon, freezing him in place. "Do it now, Sakura!" Shikamaru yelled. Sakura opened a scroll and released a stack of explosive tags that wrapped themselves around Sakon. He let out a scream when the tags blew up in a brilliant display of yellow and orange. Shikamaru shakily rose to his feet, unable to rest as he and the others heard a flute playing. Shikamaru instantly realized the genjutsu, using his shadow possession jutsu to break his finger, causing enough pain to break the illusion. Kiba did a similar action, while Sakura pulled out earplugs and handed them to her team. Shikamaru gestured for Kiba to fall back and help Sakura with long-range support, while he went in for the attack. He dashed towards Toyuya, who had entered her curse mark's second stage. Earth style, falling earth spears. Water style, water bomb jutsu. Kiba and Sakura kept Toyuya moving, while Shikamaru planted kunai all over the area. He got into a crouching position and sent out his shadows. The shadows began springing from each of the kunai, creating a large web of dark tendrils. A new addition to the shadow possession of my design. Using my clan's special seals, I can set up multiple shadows, thus creating my shadow web's jutsu, Shikamaru thought. Although, it takes up even more chakra than the regular shadow possession. What a pain. Each of them pierced Toyuya, destroying her illusion clone. The real Toyuya appeared behind Shikamaru. He remained calm, sending the thousands of shadows to pierce the real enemy. Toyuya coughed up blood. Her flute fell to the ground, breaking into pieces. You may have beaten me, but now there is no one to control them. Shikamaru's eyes widened, turning his gaze to see the members of Team 7 being struck by 3 strange giants. They were knocked back, both getting up and using the strength they had to keep them at bay. Shikamaru scoffed. He sent out his thousands of shadows. Each of them wrapped themselves around the strange giants. He buckled from the strain, his chakra running dangerously low. Kiba and Sakura didn't waste time. Kiba slammed his fists down. 3 large hands erupted from the ground, taking hold of the giants, allowing Shikamaru to release his hold on them. Sakura activated her storage seals, streams of water forming into a sphere around the creatures. She forced the water prison to slowly shrink in size. She gasped as she felt her body cry in pain, but she pushed past it, forcing the water prison into the size of a small orb, no larger than herself. She released the prison, the grotesque form of the crushed giants falling to the dirt. Sakura collapsed from exhaustion. She came up with the idea to crush them with the prison on the fly, not realizing the strain and use of chakra that came with it. Kiba helped her to her feet. Shikamaru joined them. "You two all right?" They nodded. They had luckily sustained few and minor injuries. His gamble had paid off. "Good. I saw Neji go after the guy with 6 arms. We better go and make sure he is alright." "There will be no need." The 3 turned to see Neji, limping on one leg, clutching his messed up shoulder that was covered in blood. Sakura forced her exhaustion away, pulling out her medical supplies. Neji tried to refuse, but she heard none of it. He finally sat down, letting Sakura clean and bandage his wounds. He would need proper medical care once they returned. "Did you kill the guy?" Kiba asked. "Yes. He used a strange web-like substance that was also able to become solid as rock. My gentle fist was able to break out of it. After that, he entered his curse mark state. He attacked from long distance, and I was able to deflect his attacks. Unfortunately, he took out my shoulder. So I set up an illusion clone, and when he went to check my body, I disabled his chakra network and ruptured many of his vital organs. After that, I sealed his body in this scroll." Neji handed Shikamaru the scroll. Shikamaru nodded, quickly putting the dead Hyuga inside as well. The information these bodies possessed would be useful. "How do you think the others are doing?" Kiba asked. "They will be fine," Kiba said, startling everyone. Neji was not the type to think about his comrades, but his battle with Hinata during the Chunin exams seemed to have changed him. Both Naruto and Hinata are stronger than any of us. As for Lee, he is more than capable of taking care of himself. "Agreed," Shikamaru said. "Even so, we will rest for a few hours and catch up with them." They all agreed, allowing themselves to relax. A few miles ahead of them, Naruto, Hinata, and Lee had caught up with Kabuto and the unknown, pale-skinned man. He had vivid green eyes and 2 scarlet dots on his forehead. He had white, shoulder-length hair, parted with a zigzag pattern with both sides having a lock of his hair, held by a red tube-like ornament. His clothes were a modified version of the regular sound ninja attire. His shirt was wide open, revealing a curse mark on the base of his neck. "I will hold them off for you, Kabuto. Take Sasuke to Lord Orochimaru." "Thank you, Kimimaro," Kabuto replied, dashing away with Sasuke in tow. "He's getting away," Naruto grunted. "Lee, think you can take him?" "Yes, of course. Do not worry about me. Hurry and save Sasuke. I will handle this Kimimaro person." Naruto nodded, dashing away with Hinata close behind. They both had to jump away to dodge peculiar white bullets. They managed to avoid them, but Kimimaro jumped forward, swinging a white blade that looked almost like bones. Kimimaro continued to swing, Naruto and Hinata dodging rather easily. A green blur knocked the bone sword from his hand, the blur landing in front of the couple. "You are fighting me now!" Lee proclaimed, his youth springing forth so much that Kimimaro swore that Lee was insane. "I know you won't let me down, Lee," Naruto said, dashing away along with Hinata. Lee held his arm out in his infamous ready stance. Kimimaro glared coldly. He aimed his palm at the ground, a new bone sword protruding from his hand. He wasted no time going in for the attack. Lee responded in kind, the two engaging in a furious bout of taijutsu. Lee was going strong, easily blocking and dodging all attacks. He found out the hard way that Kimimaro was going to be tough to hit, as each time, large rib cages shot out of his chest, stabbing him. Lee was not ready to give up, however. Lee jumped above Kimimaro, landing and kicking his legs out from underneath him. He brought his leg up, bringing his foot down on the Sound Shinobi's head. Kimimaro blocked with his bone-covered arm, jumping back, swinging at Lee. "Wait!" Kimimaro paused a few inches from Lee's outstretched arm, confused. Lee stood and jumped away, pulling his orange leg warmers off. Underneath, he released his weights, placing them in a storage seal he now kept in his pouch. Since he can now use chakra, he also deactivated his gravity seals, which were already at level 5. He jumped a few times, testing his new speed, that can now surpass Naruto's, without the 8 gates. "One more moment," Lee said, Kimimaro watching with blank fascination. Lee brought his fingers together in a cross shape, chakra building up in his body. He let out a loud shout before a large cloud of smoke erupted beside him. Kimimaro shielded his eyes, letting the smoke dissipate. Once it had, a second, identical Rock Lee stood beside the original. Kimimaro raised an eyebrow. "You can use chakra? I do not sense any from you." Lee smiled happily. "I have so little even a small chakra suppression seal can mask it. But, more importantly, I finally did the Shadow Clone Jutsu." Lee took the hand of his double, both dancing happily in circles. Kimimaro stared with blank eyes, not amused. Even so, he knew that the green-clad ninja had grown considerably stronger. Lee ended his dance, the two readopting their battle stances. Kimimaro blinked, bringing his hand up, aimed at Lee. Holes formed at the tips of his fingers, bone bullets ready to fire. The bullets were an inch out of his finger when Lee and his clone vanished into thin air. Kimimaro's eyes widened, feeling a flurry of attacks land upon him within a few seconds. Kimimaro was thrown back several feet. Lee appeared behind him, kicking him in the back, sending him flying, being struck by Lee again. Kimimaro was being thrown in a circle, his mind a blur as he flew in every direction. Lee landed blow after blow, each one gaining more and more weight. Lee had to stop his barrage when he felt Kimimaro's body transformed. The two jumped away, seeing patches of skin fall away, revealing flat sheets of bone. The curse mark on Kimimaro's neck had spread across his body, black markings covering him. The black markings grew until they covered his entire body. They slowly darkened his skin, black markings on his face. His eyes turned from their usual white and green to black and gold. A strange tail sprung from his back, as well as 6 bone spikes. Kimimaro reached for a handle that protruded from his back, and proceeded to remove his entire spine from his body. Lee watched with disgust, but readying himself to go on the defensive. Even with his clone, he knew he had to be cautious. Kimimaro stared with his gold eyes, swinging his spine sword, the vertebrae separating, turning into a whip. Lee vanished from view, dodging the sharp blade. Lee noticed that Kimimaro seemed to have slowed down due to the increase in his bone density within his body. He must have prioritized durability over speed. Lee did a triple backflip out of his opponent's rage. He drew 2 kunai, forcing what minuscule amount of chakra he had left into them. His attempt failed, his chakra already stretched out too thin. He and his clone had to think fast, as Kimimaro was approaching. 8 inner gates! Gate of opening! Open! Gate of rest! Open! Both Lees activated the first and second gates, power exploding from him, giving him even more speed and destructive power. They both dashed at Kimimaro, their kunai breaking upon impact with its spine blade. They abandoned the broken blades, going back in for a flurry of insane attacks. Kimimaro grunted in pain, feeling his bones begin to bend from the pressure. Lee punched Kimimaro in the chin, sending him flying up. Both Lees appeared on either side of him, landing even more hits before delivering an axe kick on both of his shoulders. Kimimaro crashed into the ground, pain covering his entire body. His bones had hairline cracks covering them. He hated to admit it, but he was reaching his limit. "I am the victor of this battle," the Lees said simultaneously. "I ask you to come quietly back to the leaf." Kimimaro cursed, chakra welling up inside him. Lee felt the buildup, jumping high into the air. Bone spikes shot from the ground, covering the entire field. Kimimaro ran at Lee, whose clone was destroyed when the spikes appeared. Kimimaro replaced his spine sword with a large bone drill that covered his arm. Lee was forced to go on the defensive. He expertly jumped from spike to spike, dodging Kimimaro's clumsy attacks. He was unable to get close, as Kimimaro covered his body with bone blades. Lee jumped away as he saw sand springing forth behind Kimimaro. The sand enveloped him. Sand coffin. The sand closed in, the sound of snapping bones ringing through the field. Lee turned around to see a red-haired boy, the symbol for love carved into his forehead. A large gourd sat on his back. His attire had changed since the last time they had seen each other. His arms crossed, his green eyes staring coldly. He hovered over the bone field atop a sand platform. "Your name is Gaara, right?" Gaara turned to the green-clad shinobi. "I am, and I assume you are Rock Lee." Lee gave him his signature smile. "What is a member of the Sand Village doing here?" "The Hokage asked for our assistance with the retrieval of Sasuke Uchiha, if necessary. My siblings went to join your friends behind us." Lee nodded in thanks. He was about to speak when the sand holding Kimimaro exploded, the crushed form of Kimimaro springing forth, aiming directly for Lee. "I will not let you kill me! I must live for Lord Orochimaru!" Sand burial. Gaara's sand shot forth again, crushing Kimimaro again. Gaara clenched his fist, not stopping until he heard the sickening sound of crushing flesh. He waited a moment, Lee holding in his breath. Gaara opened the sand, the dead body falling limply to the ground. The bone field slowly disintegrated as Lee collapsed on Lee's sand platform. "Are you alright?" Gaara asked. Lee nodded, saying he just needed some rest from using the 8 gates. Gaara brought them to the ground. "I was told Naruto and his Hyuga partner were also part of this mission. Where are they?" "Ahead of us," Lee said. "Kabuto ran with Sasuke. They went to stop him." Gaara inwardly sighed. He was hoping to see Naruto after this mission. He reached out his senses, feeling the presence of Kankuro and Temari, as well as the other Leaf Ninja approaching slowly. "We should join with the others and then continue to join Naruto," Lee suggested. "Agreed," Gaara said, giving his hand to Lee. Lee paused for the briefest moments before taking it. Lee pulled him up. "Are you a friend of Naruto's?" Lee smiled, proudly. "Then I've a favor to ask. Would you consider being my friend?" Gaara had the slightest amount of worry in his voice, but those worries were washed away when Lee put his arm around his shoulder. "Any friend of Naruto is a friend of mine, regardless of their past, as I know you have had. Nice to meet you, Gaara." Gaara nodded in appreciation. If he knew how to smile, he would have. As they walked, Gaara retreated into his mind. Within his mindscape, he opened a huge gourd, much like his own. Within the gourd sat Shukaku, sealed away due to the new sealing of the sands Naruto had used on him. "Oh, now you want to talk to me after the fighting is over," Shukaku raged. "Silence, or I will close the gourd again," Gaara said sternly. "I simply want you to locate the Nine Tails and its Jinchuriki. If you comply, I will speak with Naruto about further modifying the seal so that you may have a little more freedom." Shukaku grumbled but complied, knowing that Gaara was not a liar and that he would talk with Kurama's host. He located his eldest brother, surprised to feel the blonde using his power. "You might want to consider picking up the pace, Gaara. The brat is using my brother's power. Although I doubt he'll lose, it might not be a bad idea to join him for extra support." Gaara nodded, thanking Shukaku, who stared at him confused as he closed the gourd and left his mindscape. If you like what you just heard, consider hitting the subscribe button and bell icon to get notified about new videos. If there's a part you've missed, then check out the entire playlist on screen. If you like this story, please share it with your fellow anime lovers. Any support helps a lot. That's all for now. This is Ninja Kai, disappearing in a golden flash.